Summer Fun with Acey and Christi. Chapter 4. The Big Cover-Up. But whoso confesseth and forsaketh them shall have mercy. Proverbs chapter 28 verse 13. As the Virtusons' car pulled up to the curb in front of Pudge's house, Acey could hardly sit still. Today was the day his family was going to go to Grandpa and Grandma Virtuson's farm. Best of all, Pudge Meekway was going to go also. Pudge was waiting and seemed just as excited as Acey. He kissed his mother goodbye and helped Mr. Virtuson put the suitcase into the trunk. Then he piled back into the seat with Acey. After they had prayed for God's blessing and safety, they were off. "Thank you for picking me up," said Pudge politely. "You are very welcome, Pudge," replied Mrs. Virtuson. "We are glad you could come along with us." "You can say that again," cried Acey, wearing his most excited face. "I thought today would never come. At last we are on our way to fun on the farm." Acey and Pudge settled back in the seat, buckling their safety belts. Grinning at each other, they began chattering, thinking of all the fun waiting for them on Grandpa and Grandma's farm. There would be so many things to do. Feed the chickens, gather the eggs, fish in the pond, maybe even go wading in the pond, sleep in the loft of the barn, jump into a sweet-smelling haystack, ride the gentle old horse, milk the spotted cow, climb the big trees, eat Grandma's hot, fluffy biscuits, wake up at the sound of a rooster crowing. Yes, without a doubt, they would have fun on the farm. A whole week of fun on the farm. The time whizzed by as fast as the telephone poles on the side of the road. Soon Acey began to see well-known landmarks that told him they were getting close to the farm. "My stomach tells me it's getting close to lunchtime," said Pudge. Mr. Virtuson laughed as he agreed. "My stomach is growling the same thing." "Don't worry about eating this week," added Mrs. Virtuson. "One thing is for sure. Grandma loves to cook for her family, and she knows we are coming. There will be plenty of food." Turning off the highway onto a long dirt road, they could see Grandpa and Grandma Virtuson sitting in a swing on the big porch that circled the old farmhouse. "Look," shouted Acey, "there they are! I feel a big hug coming. In fact, I feel two big hugs coming." As Daddy stopped the car, Acey scrambled out and up onto the porch with his arms flung open. Pudge was right on Acey's heels, hoping for hugs himself. "Oh, Grandpa, oh, Grandma, it is so good to see you," cried Acey as he hugged his grandparents. "Hello, Acey. Hello, Pudge. Welcome to the farm," they greeted, smiling at the two young boys. Grandma Virtuson stepped closer to Pudge and said, "Pudge, I have an extra hug and it's just for you." Pudge smiled shyly as he stepped into Grandma's welcoming arms. Thought Pudge, how wonderful that Acey has such a kind grandmother. And it is extra nice that she smells just like freshly baked biscuits. Pudge enjoyed the loving welcome of Acey's grandparents. He knew, though, that he would be glad to be here at the farm, even if Grandma Virtuson didn't love to cook. Later, carrying their bags upstairs, Acey and Pudge noticed the old steps creaking. "Sounds like the stairs are also happy we are here," said Acey. "Or maybe the stairs are glad we haven't sat down to eat yet," laughed Pudge. The boys raced around their room, unpacking their suitcases. "Acey, do you really think your parents and grandparents will let us sleep out in the barn? I've never slept in a hayloft before, and it would be such fun." "Daddy said we could, only..." "Only what, Acey?" "Only it's dark out there at night. Will you be afraid?" asked Acey. "Nah," bragged Pudge. "We can take a flashlight, can't we? Besides, the moon will probably be shining." "Right," agreed Acey as he sprang toward the door. "The last one down to lunch gets a cold biscuit." That evening, Acey and Pudge went to the barn with Grandpa Virtuson. Old Bessie, the spotted cow, needed to be milked again. Grandpa tried to teach Pudge how to milk the cow. It was much harder than it looked. Pudge's hands and arms ached, but he felt pleased when he was able to get a little milk into the pail. It was so much fun to learn something new, especially when Grandpa Virtuson was teaching him and praising him for doing a good job. While Grandpa was finishing the chores, Pudge noticed a box in the corner. "What's that?" he asked. "Oh, that's a hatcher for the hen's eggs," explained Grandpa. Grandpa could see that Pudge was interested and did not really know what a hatcher was. He walked over to the hatcher and lifted the cover. "Look inside, Acey and Pudge." The boys bent over to look into the hatcher. They stared in amazement. Inside were several eggs being warmed. From the eggs came tiny cheeping sounds. "Let me show you something," said Grandpa. Then he picked up a strange-looking flashlight and one of the eggs. "This special light helps me to see the chick before it is even hatched." Pudge and Acey watched as Grandpa put the light on one end of the egg. The light showed a small form inside the egg, and it was moving. The boys could see that inside each egg was a living chick, a chick that had been given life by God. Soon the chicks would hatch from the eggs. "Perhaps even by tomorrow morning the eggs will hatch," said Grandpa, "and we will have some new baby chicks." Both Acey and Pudge thought that would be something to see and tell about to all their friends back in Highland City. Later that evening, after each boy had taken a warm, soapy bath in the old bathtub that had what Grandma called claw feet, they headed for the barn, carrying 2 of Grandma's heavy quilts. Acey also carried a small flashlight tucked into his pocket. Pudge carried a canteen filled with water and a couple of cold biscuits wrapped in a napkin. What an adventure! What fun on the farm! Climbing the ladder into the hayloft, the boys piled fresh hay as high as their knees. Then they spread the quilts on top of the hay. They felt just like 2 cowboys from long ago. They were really sleeping in a barn, hearing the horse and cow and chickens below. Lying on their backs, looking out the window, Acey and Pudge watched the moon and millions of twinkling stars. Being on the farm was so much fun. Just as Acey was dropping off to sleep, Pudge reached for the canteen and a cold biscuit. Oh, he accidentally knocked over the flashlight, which rolled off the edge of the hayloft. Clatter, clatter, bang, crash! "What was that?" cried Acey as he sat up straight. "Oh, Acey, that was our only light. I accidentally knocked the flashlight out of the hayloft. It's down there on the barn floor, probably in 100 pieces, and the moon sure doesn't seem to be bright at all. In fact, it's really dark." "It will be all right, Pudge. We are safe here." "But, Acey, what if there are wild animals around?" "Pudge, there aren't any dangerous animals around here. Remember, God watches over us all the time, and He has promised to take care of us. Also, don't forget that Grandpa's window is open, and he would be here as fast as you could snap your fingers if we really needed help." With that said, Acey lay back down. Seeing Acey's bravery, Pudge too lay down, after practicing snapping his fingers once or twice. Both boys were soon fast asleep, even in the dark. The soft sounds of peaceful sleep soon mixed with the country sounds of chirping crickets and a hooting owl. Somewhere in the old farmhouse, a clock ticked away the hours as Acey and Pudge slept on their beds of hay. As he rolled over, Pudge could see the sky was beginning to get light. Was it morning already? "Cock-a-doodle-doo!" The rooster quickly answered Pudge's question. It was a new day on the farm. God had taken care of them during the night, just as Acey had said God would. Now that it was morning, Pudge felt a little silly when he remembered being afraid of the dark the night before. But, after all, he was still learning about God, wasn't he? Even though Acey was still asleep, Pudge quietly hopped out of the bed. He hurried softly down to the ladder, for he had something to see. Running to the corner of the barn floor below, Pudge gently opened the hatcher. Cheeping loudly was one baby chick. One chick with soft yellow down. One chick right out of his shell into God's world. Pudge picked up the little yellow ball. It was warm and so soft. Then, in his excitement, and certainly not on purpose, Pudge dropped the baby chick. Oh no! The chick lay still on the ground. The chick lay too still on the ground. Uh-oh, moaned Pudge, as if his heart would break with sadness. The little chick is dead. I didn't mean to hurt it, but I killed it. What shall I do? I just know Grandpa Virtuoson will be angry with me. Suddenly, hearing Acey start down the ladder from the hayloft, Pudge pushed the dead chick under the haystack. He didn't know why, but he hid the chick. Quickly straightening up, Pudge tried to look as if nothing was wrong. He said, "Oh, hi, Acey. I was just picking up the broken flashlight." "I'll help you," said Acey. "Then we can begin another day of fun." "Yes," mumbled Pudge, but somehow he already knew this day was not going to be much fun. After breakfast, the boys played, fished and waded in the pond. Acey noticed that Pudge didn't seem to be having as much fun as he was. Climbing up in the biggest apple tree on a branch alongside Pudge, Acey plucked an apple for each of them. "Pudge," he asked, "what's wrong?" Pudge turned to look at Acey. His eyes were filled with tears, but he couldn't say anything. "Are you missing your daddy?" whispered Acey, thinking maybe that was the problem. "I always miss my daddy, ever since he went to heaven," replied Pudge, "but that's not what's wrong." "What is wrong? Tell me," encouraged Acey. "I'm your friend." So, there in the branches of the old apple tree, Pudge told Acey the sad thing that had happened early that morning. He told Acey how he had accidentally killed a precious baby chick and how terrible he felt about it. Now Acey knew why Pudge wasn't having fun on the farm today. "Pudge, you need to tell Grandpa what happened. He will understand, and he will forgive you. I know he will." "Acey, I can't tell your Grandpa. I want him to like me, I really do. He may think I did it to be mean." "No, he won't, Pudge. I know Grandpa will understand. Come on, I will go with you to tell him," promised Acey. "But I can't," cried Pudge, scrambling down from the tree and running to the barn. Wait for me," called Acey, as he dashed after his friend. Acey reached the barn just in time to see Pudge take the empty eggshell from the hatcher and hide it under the hay too, right where the dead chick was still hidden. Climbing back into the hayloft, Pudge lay down on his bed of hay and covered his head with Grandma's quilt. Pudge was so sad and miserable. He could hardly remember how much fun he had had yesterday. Today was supposed to be another day of fun on the farm. It wasn't. At supper that night, everyone noticed that Pudge was hardly eating. He just picked at his food, even letting his fluffy biscuit get cold. When Grandma brought out a homemade apple pie, Pudge wasn't even interested. Only Acey knew what was wrong. He wanted to help his friend, but Pudge himself had to do what was right. Somehow Acey had to get Pudge to understand that. As the boys helped Grandma clear the table, Acey silently asked God to help Pudge. After such a day, sleeping in the barn didn't seem like much fun, so the boys climbed the old creaking stairs to their room and lay on their bunk beds. Neither boy could think of anything that sounded like fun. Not games, not puzzles, not even the wonderful old books on the shelves. All Pudge wanted to do was go home, but he knew that was impossible. He and Acey were to stay on the farm all week, and he surely couldn't walk back to Highland City. Acey knew Pudge was very unhappy, but what could he do for his friend? Silently he asked God to help. "Acey," begged Pudge, "please don't tell your grandpa." "I won't," answered Acey, "because you will have to tell Grandpa yourself. I know you will, because it is right. Don't you want to do the right thing?" "Oh, I do, if only I could." As Pudge lay there thinking of what he had done, the ticking of the old clock on the wall seemed like little hammers banging in his head. Then a soft tapping on the door interrupted Pudge's thoughts. "Come in," called Acey. Stepping brightly into the room, Grandpa looked at the boys with smiling eyes, then turned to Pudge. "Pudge, we are so glad you're here on the farm with us, but it seems that you're not having a good time. Are you homesick?" "Would you like to go home?" asked Grandpa Virtuoson. Pudge looked at Grandpa. He looked at Acey. Then he looked at Grandpa again. He knew what he must do. He must tell Grandpa the truth about what had happened in the barn early that morning. In a very small and trembling voice, he told Grandpa the whole sad story. Patiently, Grandpa listened as the words tumbled out. Pudge told about the dead baby chick hidden in the haystack in the barn and how he had tried to hide what he had done. When Pudge finished, in tears, he asked Grandpa to forgive him. "Pudge, what you did was very wrong, but what you just did now was very right and very courageous. I forgive you, and I understand how you feel. I saw the empty shell in the hatchery this morning, and I wondered what happened. I was just waiting for one of you boys to tell me about it. I know you did not mean to kill the baby chick. It was an accident, and I would have forgiven you right away if you had told me right away. Trying to hide the problem is what has been making you unhappy all day. In my favourite book of the Bible, Proverbs, there is a verse that I want you to remember. He that covereth his sins shall not prosper, but whoso confesseth and forsaketh them shall have mercy. Looking up into Grandpa's gentle face, Pudge grinned a crooked but happy little grin and said, "Thank you, Grandpa Virtuoson. Thank you so much for understanding. I will learn that proverb before I go to sleep tonight. Thank you for loving me and teaching me more about God's Word." Pudge took out his Bible and turned to Proverbs chapter 28 verse 13. Looking over at his friend Acey, he said, "Tomorrow will be a great day. I just know it." When the boys turned out the light, Pudge lay there listening to the old clock. It seemed to be playing a soft, happy lullaby. Pudge soon was fast asleep.